All right, welcome guys. We have a very interesting 7-game NBA slate to go over. So I hope you guys are having a good day so far. If you guys are new to the channel, how this works is we will review the news that we have, take a look at the Vegas odds, and go team by team, talk about the players I like, and get to questions at the end. So let's start off with what we know so far. And we got news. Hornets are going to be shorthanded. No Bridges, no PJ Washington. That is huge. That changes everything here. So we'll talk about the Hornets. OG Anunoby out. Right now, it's the only Raptor that we have out, but possibly more. Lonzo Ball currently questionable. That will change things. Adams is still questionable. The Pistons veterans, once again, resting. Also, Frank Jackson, Diallo questionable. I did see that they are warming up, and Josh Jackson out. So Pistons going to be a little bit more shorthanded. Pat Beverly now questionable. If he plays, that takes a low-owned contrarian value play in Rondo out of play for me. What else do we got here? Pokusevski out for Tuesday. I'm just not touching the Thunder on this slate. Just don't need to. Draymond Green now questionable. If he's out, Juan Toscano Anderson becomes one of the best values of the slate. And where are we at? We got the Hornet starters in Ball, Rozier, Caleb Martin, McDaniels, and Biambo. No limit for Killian Hayes on a back-to-back. Again, Frank Jackson, Diallo went through shoot-around. And I do want to show one quick thing here with Cody Zeller. Coach Borrego mentioned that the top 8 in the rotation would also be Wanamaker, Malik Monk, and Cody Zeller. So I was a little bit worried that Cody Zeller may not be in the rotation, like maybe they go to Vernon Carey, but he will play the backup 5. We'll get to that. I think he's a sneaky tournament play because it's basically the same situation as one was at. Like 2 or 3 days ago with the Spurs, where I was like, hey, everyone's going to play Eubanks. People are avoiding Gorgie Jang, and it's going to be the same situation here with the Hornets. Everyone's going to play Biambo, and no one's going to play Cody Zeller. And Cody Zeller is actually the better point per minute guy. And if they somewhat split the minutes, just give me Zeller all day long. So another situation there. I think you could use Zeller to get different. All right, so let's take a look at these Vegas odds. The games that stand out, obviously, the Nets-Bucks, that one should be fun to watch. A 242.5 over-under, 1-point spread, which means automatically blowout. Warriors and Pelicans, a 235.5 over-under. Pelicans, 2.5-point favorites. Those are the two super high over-under games. Thunder and Kings shooting for 230 as well. All right, so let's start off with Phoenix and Cleveland. And honestly, I just don't have interest in anyone in this game. I think this slate is pretty simple. You make it a 4-game slate, right? You cross off Phoenix, Cleveland. You cross off Dallas, Miami. And you cross off Toronto and the Clippers. It's that simple. Like, you just don't want interest in any of these guys. I'll like talk about them, but I'm making a 4-game slate. I think you guys should as well. So on the Phoenix side, yeah, Cleveland, even though they're bad, not a good or actually play slow. Booker, Paul, Ayton, there's just no way I'm prioritizing these guys with the other stars on the slate. The value, there's way too many good value plays in the slate for me to take a shot in like Cam Johnson or Torrey Craig. No, they're just not doing it. On the Cleveland side, not much here either. Again, Garland out, doesn't do much anything for me for Sexton. There's no way I'm prioritizing him over other plays in a god-awful matchup against the Suns. Allen and Love, absolutely not. Cedi Osman would be one guy maybe you can take a shot on, but still, it just doesn't make sense in the slate. And no way on Dean Wade or like Damian Dotson. No, it's just pretty simple fade for me. Charlotte and Detroit, a game much more interesting. So Hornets, no Bridges, no Hayward, no PJ, no Graham, no Cody Martin. We got to start off with LaMelo Ball at the top. One of the best plays of the slate, in my opinion. Really shorthanded. Should be an 8-man rotation here. Again, with Wanamaker, Monk, and Zeller off the bench. They don't have a lot of options here. I'm thinking we get 30 to 35 minutes from Zeller, or from LaMelo Ball. We know he's a good point per minute guy. I'm not scared of Detroit on the defensive end, so really like LaMelo. Now, Rozier, I think, is an interesting GPP pivot. We've seen some big games from Rozier, and this is kind of, again, tournament mindset, right? You know everyone is going to LaMelo. Well, Rozier still has upside, and he's going to come in a way lower ownership. So I don't mind going to Rozier over LaMelo for a low-owned pivot, but optimal play-wise, it's LaMelo for me. Scrolling down a bit more, McDaniels at 4.6. I actually think is one of the better values plays in the slate. I think recency bias, right? He hasn't played a ton, and people are going to look at these box scores and kind of just be like, he's not that good of a play. When this guy, they don't have it, but when he was playing like 35 minutes a game when the Hornets had a lot of injuries like 3 weeks ago, he was great. Like, he had some 40-plus fantasy point games. So I think the recency bias of just the minutes trending down for him are going to get people. He shouldn't be. He's going to come in at lower ownership than he should. What I'm saying is I like Jalen McDaniels a good amount. I think he's going overlooked in the slate for value. Malik Monk at 4-3 off the bench. One of the better value plays too. I got him really high on this Hornets team. I think he plays somewhere around 25 to 30 minutes. They need scoring. He's the guy that can do the scoring. The only concern is he's a little bit reliant on the scoring. He doesn't do a lot of the peripheral stats, I should say. And then we have the other Martin twin, Caleb Martin, starting. He's the flat min price. Not a great point per minute guy. He did have that 140 fantasy point game, kind of an outlier. But I think he starts. I think he plays 25 to 30 minutes, and he probably gets here somewhere around 15 to 25 fantasy points. I think a very fair value at the flat min. And then we got to talk about the two centers. So Biambo, Zeller are going to be the two centers here. Biambo starting. Again, ownership is going to be way higher in Bismack. I think he's a safe play. I think he plays somewhere around 25 minutes. But for me, I actually, if what we saw that quote is true and Zeller is for sure playing, the backup 5, then I actually prefer Zeller in GPPs. Zeller is the much better point per minute guy. And if they're going to get somewhat even minutes, if they're going to split it like 24-24, give me Zeller all day long. So, again, that is based on what that quote that said, hey, Zeller, Monk, and Wanamaker are going to round out the rotation today. That's going to be the 8-man rotation. So the only concern I had with Zeller when I saw he was not starting was, hey, I thought there's still a chance he gets a DNP. Maybe they go to Vernon Carey. That's not the case from what we saw from that quote. So I think Zeller is a very interesting GPP play today that will go in at super low ownership. And then, Wanamaker off the bench at 3-1, also be low owned. I think he plays about 20 to 25 minutes. If you want to get really contrarian in GPPs, you can go there. A guy that can get you some assists. But all in all, we go from a game I have no interest to the Charlotte Hornets team, a team I love today. Them, the Kings, you want exposure here for sure. Moving on to Detroit. So we're still waiting on Diallo and Frank Jackson. I believe both will play since they're both, they went through shoot around. But let's start with, so basically everyone is out that was out last game, and Josh Jackson is out. But Jahlil Okafor is in off the bench. So I think they have 9 guys if both the questionable guys play, right? It would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, maybe 10. So we'll start with Stewart and Bay. Bay had the big game last game, back-to-back pretty solid games. I think he's fine, but I don't know if the price really stands out on this slate. Kind of the same thing with Isaiah Stewart, a guy I liked, came in at somewhat lower ownership. I think both those guys are solid plays, but with their prices, there's just guys that look a little bit better on the slate, right? I prefer the Hornets guys. I prefer the Sacramento Kings. Killian Hayes at 5-3. Also, the minutes will be about 30, but we really just don't see the upside from him. Frank Jackson, again, Diallo questionable. Now, if Diallo plays and starts, I think he's actually my favorite Detroit Piston because he played 26 minutes last game. We know he's a good offensive player that has upside, but we've seen it we've seen a couple 40-plus fantasy point games from him when he's on the Thunder. I think we saw one big game from him when he's on the Pistons earlier. I have interest in Diallo. I think he's my favorite Piston if he does end up picking up the start. Now, if both Diallo and Frank Jackson are out, then we got to see what they're going to do with the starting lineup. I don't know. Does a Tyler Cook come into play maybe? Do they start 2 guards and go Saban Lee? That'll be something to keep an eye on. But assuming both those questionable guys are in, I think my favorite play on Detroit is Hamidou Diallo. Brooklyn and Milwaukee. Real quick, though, guys, I will ask. We are at already 300 viewers and 50 likes. If you could, leave a like button on the live stream. It helps me out a lot. I'll get back into it. So, Brooklyn, Milwaukee, again, Kevin Durant at 9.3K. Very scary fade. That's all. If you're fading Kevin Durant on this slate, good luck. Yes, the price is still too cheap. He should be about a 10.5K player. He's 9.3. We just saw what he did last game. Plus, he played 40 minutes. So we don't have to worry about any type of restriction from Kevin Durant. The only thing you have to worry about is him re-aggravating an injury, which is possible. This season he's been banged up a lot. That's the only worry with Kevin Durant, I think. So right now, I think one of the best lineups of the slate. Absolutely love Kevin Durant. Now, this is the same thing I will say with LaMelo and Rozier, right? We know everyone's playing LaMelo. Everyone's playing Kevin Durant. Well, no one's going to play Kyrie Irving. And Kyrie Irving still has upside. He's still gone for some big games. with KD in. So this is, again, tournament mindset, right? If everyone's playing Kevin Durant, I think Kyrie Irving looks slightly suboptimal, but he's going to come in at way lower ownership and still has a similar upside. So I like Kyrie as a pivot there for GPPs. The rest of the Nets, there's no way I'm playing Joe Harris. The rest of the value, you just don't have to go there. There's just too many good value plays. The only other guy I'll mention if he starts is DeAndre Jordan. That's the only way I'm playing him. If he starts, I think he plays 20 to 25 minutes and is a fair value because even though he's washed, he can go out and get you 10 points, 10 boards, and a couple blocks, right? He can go out and fall into some rebounds, fall into some putbacks, so he's fine if he starts. I'm not considering anyone else here for the Nets. All right, Milwaukee Bucks. Giannis Antetokounmpo, also one of the top spin-ups of the slate. We just saw what he did last game against the Nets. 74 fantasy points, 49, 8, 4, 3, and 1. Really like Giannis here. I think the price is a little bit too cheap. I think he should be about 11.5K. He's only 10.7, so really like Giannis here. Again, fantastic matchup. No one on the Nets can hang with him. And that's it. I don't have interest in anyone else. There's no way I'm going to Middleton or Drew or Lopez or DiVincenzo. No, maybe one of those secondary options is a good game, but it just doesn't make sense on the slate for me to go there. So that's where I'm at. Dallas, Miami, it's pretty simple, right? You just cross this game off, in my opinion. Unless like a lot of guys end up getting scratched somehow, I just don't have interest in this game. So Porzingis, doubtful, doesn't do much for me. If you want to deal with the headache of Kleber, Melli, Boban, Dwight Powell, Willie Cauley-Stein, go for it. It might be a 5 big man rotation. I have no trust in Rick Carlisle. Again, not sure why he is still employed by the Dallas Mavs. The only center I would play if he starts is Boban because he's a good point per guy. But yeah, I just don't have trust in this team right now with the rotations. And Luka in a tough matchup, it's just nothing more than a dart throw in GPPs. Would much rather get to KD, much rather get to Giannis, much rather get to Steph. That's all I got. So on the Miami side, not a ton here either. Like Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo I think are fine options. I just have a hard time prioritizing these two over a guy like Kevin Durant at a similar price. Over a guy like Giannis for a little bit more. Over a guy like Steph for like an extra 1,000. So Jimmy, Bam, they're just secondary contrarian spend-ups. Like they'll both play probably about 35 minutes, but just not a ton of interest. And then Nunn, Dragic are kind of just there. They're playing the minutes, but I just don't think it makes sense in the slate to get to either of them. So this game is kind of just an avoid for me. All right, guys, so we're halfway through. Let me refresh again, make sure we've had any more news here. Nothing yet. All right, so now we get to an interesting game here. Golden State, New Orleans. So we will start at the top with Steph Curry. Really like him for GPPs. Again, he is just shooting lights out right now. He's a scary fade in tournaments. You got Steph, you got KD, you got Giannis at the top. All three look great. Great matchup here, and again, he is shooting lights out, so really like Steph for GPPs. Wiggins is just Wiggins. I'd never play him. Now, Oubre is out, and now we have Draymond Green questionable. This does shake things up. If Draymond Green plays, I actually really like him in the mid-range. We just saw what he did last game. Triple-double, 61 fantasy points. So if he plays, I like Draymond in the mid-range. If he misses, then Juan Toscano Anderson, I think, becomes a really good value play. I think probably starts and plays 35-plus minutes. So would really like Juan Toscano Anderson there. If he starts. Bazemore, I think, is a pretty solid play either way. He should get 30 to 35 minutes, a guy that can do the peripherals. I'm not in love with the price at 5.4, but I still think he is firmly in play. And then Looney is just, we don't have to go there in the slate. Jordan Poole, again, minutes have been down on him recently. Maybe if Draymond is out, he might play a little bit more, but I think that's getting a little bit too contrarian on this slate. So that is it for Golden State. Moving on to New Orleans. We also have some guys questionable. So Lonzo, Steven Adams questionable. We'll start with Steven Adams. So if he's out, you can look to Hernan Gomez. I don't know if it's necessary in the slate, though, with all the other value opening up. I think he plays 25 to 30 minutes. He's a decent point per guy, but again, don't know if it's necessary. Now, Lonzo Ball being questionable will shake things up. If Lonzo Ball's out, I'm guessing it's either Naji Marshall or Kira Lewis that move in the starting lineup. Naji Marshall has already been in this rotation and playing on average about 20 minutes. He played 27 the last game, the one a little bit smaller. He's been playing well of late, and if he starts, I actually think he's someone we can look to for value. And then if he starts instead of Kira Lewis, that means Bledsoe's playing the point. And then pains me to say, I would like Eric Bledsoe a good amount if he starts at the point guard. So he becomes a really good value play. Now, if Kira Lewis starts instead of Naji Marshall, then I don't have as much interest in Marshall. Don't have don't have as much interest in Bledsoe. And then I would like Kira Lewis a good amount at the flat min price, who's kind of been out of the rotation, but a flat min starting point guard that probably plays 25 to 30 minutes, sign me up for that. So that's one to keep an eye on. Now, if Lonzo Ball plays, then you just throw that value out the door. You don't have to consider it. Lonzo himself, I actually really like for GPPs. Shot 3 of 18 last game. He's not going to shoot that bad again, most likely. Still went for 30 fancy points and shot 3 of 18. So, like I said in the video, imagine if he had a subpar shooting game, he probably goes for 45 to 50. So I like Lonzo as a GPP play if he does play. Zion, I also like for GPPs. I think I prefer those other stars I mentioned, but he'll come in at way lower ownership. And then if Lonzo's out, Zion and Ingram do get a slight usage boost. So like those two also will get a boost. Ingram's been disappointing of late, but small forward is always a weak position. And if you want to use him as a contrarian spend up, I'm not opposed to it. And then, yeah, that's it. Again, Steven Adams plays. Obviously, you don't play Hernan Gomez. So, Sacramento, OKC. Let me refresh again. We got about 15 minutes until I'm going to get out of here. So, got to talk about Sacramento. Fox, Halliburton out. Barnes, doubtful. I think we'll start with 2 of the better plays of the slate in DeLon Wright and in Marvin Bagley. DeLon Wright should start. Probably plays 35-ish minutes. Great matchup. Really like DeLon right there at his price. Also, Marvin Bagley, I'm still tilted about the other night when Luke Walton said he was on a minutes limit and he played 34 minutes. So that was no fun. But yeah, looks like he's going to play 30 to 35 minutes. With that being said, and with basically like everyone out for the Kings, I really like Bagley in a great matchup. I think Rashawn Holmes is an interesting GPP play. Did get in some foul trouble. Only played 25 minutes. Again, probably lost about 6 or so minutes, 6-7 minutes because of the foul trouble in the first quarter. I think he plays 30 to 32 minutes. He's a good point per guy. And this is the third time I'll say this. Same thing I said about LaMelo and Rozier and Durant and Kyrie, and now Bagley and Holmes. Bagley's going to get all the ownership. No one's going to play Holmes. Holmes, yes, he's a little bit more pricey, but he has similar upside. Maybe even more upside, and no one's going to play Rashawn Holmes. So I like Rashawn Holmes a good amount as a pivot off of a chalk Marvin Bagley. Let's see. What else do we got? Buddy Hield firmly in play as well. He's actually been doing better with the peripheral stats. 6 boards, 7 assists, 5 boards, 7 assists, 6 boards, 3 assists. Even though he's still a little bit more scoring dependent, I think he is someone that, he's going to go low owned, but still has upside if he gets hot behind the 3-point line. So like him for GPPs. I'm not playing Mo Harkless. I'm done with that. Terrence Davis is the only other guy I'll mention at 4K. I think he probably plays about 25 minutes off the bench. We know he's not afraid to shoot the ball, right? And he's a good scorer. So I like Davis as a contrarian GPP play. All right, OKC. I'll make this pretty simple. I just don't trust this team right now. First of all, they're awful. Second of all, they're running a really deep rotation. Third of all, there's some guys that will, play one night and then get a DNP the other night. The only guys I think you can consider are the guys that start, and I just wouldn't even touch anyone on the bench. Like Dort, Bazley are viable GPP plays. Dort, we know, is the upside. It's a great matchup. Same with Bazley. Assuming both those guys start, I do think they both start. They're fine contrarian GPP plays. And then I will mention Kendrick Williams. He played 30 minutes the last game. I only play him if he starts. He was one of the guys that 2 or 3 games ago just got a DNP. So only play Kenrich if he starts. If he doesn't start, I'm not taking a shot on any bench players for the Thunder because there's a chance 1 or 2 of those guys get a DNP. No, I'm not going to Gabriel Deck or I'm not going to Charlie Brown. No, there's better value on the slate. So Thunder basically an avoid for me. Finally, Toronto Clippers. This will be pretty simple. Not much here for me. Siakam, Van Fleet, Lowry look all 3 in. Tough matchup. Nothing there. Kem Birch, no. Malachi Flynn, 0 of 7 last game. There's nothing here. On the Clippers side, not much here either. Kawhi, Paul George, both in. Kawhi might be slightly limited. Don't love the price there. I'd rather get to the other stars I mentioned. Paul George, too pricey with Kawhi in. Mid-range, absolutely not. Rondo is the only guy. I'll mention 2 value guys. Rondo, if Pat Beverly is out, I think he's an interesting contrarian value play. I actually do like Rondo if there's no Pat Bev because he's played 22, 25, and 30 minutes the last 3 games. He's a guy that can go out and get you the peripheral stats, right? We know that. So if there's no Pat Beverly, I think Rondo's a good GPP value play that's going to go overlooked, but he's been great recently. And then the super, super risky play is Boogie Cousins. We know what Boogie is. He's a great point-per guy, a good offensive player. But there's also been a couple games here recently where he's gotten DNPs. So there's about a 50-50 chance I think he gets a DNP. There's also a 50-50 chance on the other side that he plays 15 to 20 minutes and he crushes in that time. So Boogie, the super, super high risk value play, because if you play him, you got to be willing to accept a 0, because that's in the range of outcomes. All right. That is my breakdown, guys. We got about 13 minutes until I'm going to get out of here. Wow, and now Jimmy Butler out. So, alrighty. Welcome to May in the NBA. Jimmy Butler out, Iguodala in. Alrighty then. Okay, so now this Miami team, don't go crazy here. Okay, yes, this was the biggest piece of news that just dropped. It's not like we want to load up on Miami, though, because there's still a lot of shorthanded teams. So I'll start with Bam Adebayo. Now he's in play with no Jimmy Butler. I think we get about 35 minutes. He should be the number one in offense. He gets a usage bump and no Jimmy. So now I like Bam at the top. Kendrick Nunn, Goran Dragic now become firmly in play in the mid-range. These guys have already been playing the minutes. Nunn, 35 plus. Dragic, about 30 off the bench. Well, now they're going to have to do way more offensively. These are the next two in line for usage. Nunn, Dragic, I think they're both firmly in play in the mid-range. I don't play Duncan Robinson. His role doesn't change. He's still a guy that's going to shoot threes like a Joe Harris. I don't play him. Trevor Ariza, 4-3, is viable. He does get a bump. Obviously, no Jimmy. I think he's in play too. So I don't think I consider anything else. It is Bam at the top. It is Nunn and Dragic in the mid-range. And now it's Trevor Ariza for value. Don't go crazy here, though. Jimmy Butler being out is big news. But it's not like we want to go out and play 3 to 4 Heat with a lot of teams looking good, right? We have the Kings that look great. We have the Hornets that look great. We have some Pistons guys in play. We have Giannis and Durant on the slate. We have Steph Curry on the slate. So don't go crazy with your Miami exposure. But now I think you can make this a 5-game slate, and I think you can consider the Miami side of this. We'll see what they do the starting lineup. Again, it's Bam, it's the 2 guards, and it's Ariza that's at least viable for value. Okay, so now let's get to some questions. Almost 400 viewers, guys. Thank you so much. Dragic, too cheap. I think Dragic and Nunn are both in play. I don't think either are must, but I do like them. I don't think they're... I mean, we'll see. There's a lot of good value in the slate, so we'll see what the ownership is. I don't think I can stomach an Andre Iguodala in the slate. Probably not for me. Yeah, Ariza's had some games for sure, so I think he's viable. Bay and Zeller or Bagley and Terrence Davis. Probably the second one. Heald or Rozier and Killing Hayes or Dragic. It depends what the rest of your lineup looks like. I don't know how many Hornets you have. I don't know how many Kings you have. If you have like no Kings, then go Heald. If you have like no Hornets, then go Rozier. And Killing Hayes or Dragic. I think I give the edge to Dragic there. Diallo or Davis? Diallo if he starts. Diallo for sure. Thoughts on Ball, Martin, Diallo, McDaniels, Giannis, Wright, Bagley, and Curry. I like it. I like Dragic more than Nunn. Yeah, I think both. I think it's pretty similar, but I like both the Miami guards now. Martin or Zeller, Diallo or Monk. I mean, Martin's probably the cash game play since he's starting, but I like Zeller a lot for GPPs. I just think there's still a chance that like maybe Biambo actually plays more. Maybe Biambo plays like 30 and Zeller only plays 18. Or that quote is just false and the Hornets are lying to us and they use Vernon Carey as the backup. So there's still some risk there with Zeller, I think. Diallo or Monk? I think it's basically a coin flip. I guess we'll go Monk right now since we don't know Diallo's status, and maybe he's slightly limited in a back-to-back. Can you play 4 Hornets? I might limit it to 3 now with other value opening up. Yeah, I think Bagley obviously looks good. 5.5 yeah, it's Bagley for me over Juan Toscano Anderson. 3.8 Terrence Davis or 3.8 McDaniels. It's McDaniels for me. Caleb Martin and Draymond or Diallo and Holmes. I'll say Diallo and Holmes for now. Again, we're obviously still waiting on news for that. Steph, Rozier, Monk, Bledsoe, Martin, KD, Giannis, Bagley, Biambo for FanDuel. I see no issue with that. Terry or Buddy for GPP. Again, depends. Do you have LaMelo? If you have LaMelo, then you go Buddy, or do you, I don't know what the rest of your lineup looks like, so that's hard to say. Rozier or Draymond? For me, it's Draymond if he plays. We like McDaniels. I think McDaniels is a good value, yeah. Hield or Middleton? Give me Buddy Hield there. Frank Jackson or Dragic? Give me Dragic there. LaMelo, Dort, Caleb Martin, Giannis, Zeller, none. Okay, again, Dort's a guy that you can play. I just don't really want to play any Thunder on this one. I mean, you can get away from chalk Marvin Bagley. He looks like one of the best plays in the slate. So anything can weird stuff can happen. Maybe he only plays 25 minutes this game. Metu maybe is available, and maybe Bagley loses some minutes, but it's right now he looks like one of the best plays of the slate. LaMelo, DeLon Wright, Buddy, KD, Bam, Terrence Davis, McDaniels, and Diallo. I see no issue with the guys you have in. Yeah, Giannis or Doncic. Yeah, it's got to be Giannis for me. It's just a much better matchup. And none, Dragic or Hayes. I mean, it's none or Dragic for me, and that's basically a coin flip. I think none plays more, but Dragic, probably the slightly better point per minute guy. It's really a toss-up with those guys. None, Bismack or McDaniels and Terrence Davis. I'll go the second one. That is close, though. You got to make some really tough calls with some of these guys. You think O'Mel is going to be high owned? I think so. Yeah. Whole Hornets starting 5. I would not play all 5. No. I think you can play 3. I just think there's a lot of shorthanded teams here that if it was a slate where there's not a lot of value and the Hornets were the only source of value, then yeah, you could play 4 to 5. But I just don't think it's necessary in this one. Stewart or Holmes? For me, it's probably Holmes. Dragic or DeLon Wright? It's got to be DeLon Wright for me. It is close, but I think DeLon Wright, great matchup. Should start at point guard. Should play 35 minutes. Yeah. Giannis, it's going to be Giannis for me over Luka. Biambo or Zeller for cash? Well, I think Biambo for cash games, right? Because in cash games, you don't care about ownership. Biambo will be higher owned. I'm just saying I like Zeller as a GPP pivot. Again, Dragic or none, I think you flip a coin. Bazemore or Ingram, well, they're different prices. If the salary doesn't matter, it's clearly Ingram. LaMelo, Frank Jackson, McDaniels, KD, Giannis, Dragic, Bagley, and Biambo. Yeah, I think obviously if Frank Jackson plays, that looks like a good build. LaMelo Ball, Martin, McDaniels, KD, Giannis, DeLon, Bagley, and Dragic. I also like that. Can you play Zeller with confidence? I don't think you can play it with confidence, and the reason I will say that is just because he hasn't really been playing a ton. We did get news, though, that he is going to be in the rotation. Now, he's a good point per minute guy. My only worry is, do they run a 3-headed monster at center, and do they throw Vernon Carey in there, too? I think that's, an outside chance. I think there's an outside chance that report is just false, and, Vernon Carey's the backup 5, and Zeller gets a DNP. So there's ways where this goes wrong. But I will just say, if I knew Cody Zeller was going to play 24 minutes tonight, I would love him for value. Love him for value. Rondo, no, I think, yeah, if Rondo is a good GPP value play if Pat Beverly is out. If Pat Beverly is in, I'm not doing it. Small forward for 4,200. It's not a great range below that. I think you can play Naji Marshall, especially if Lonzo's out. But I think Terrence Davis as well. So probably one of those two guys. I think I would go Davis for now, and then if Lonzo gets ruled out, maybe you go to Naji Marshall. Saban Lee over Biambo? Yeah. How many minutes did Saban play the last game? I think he played a little bit more, right? He is the flat man. He played 20. It's a pretty similar play. 4.9K Willie or 4.8K Jordan. Well, do we have net starters? Obviously, you only play DeAndre Jordan if he starts. And obviously, you only play Hernan Gomez if he starts and there's no Adams. Lonzo Ball will play, okay. And Steven Adams will play, so no more Hernan Gomez. Hernan Gomez out of play. Lonzo being in kind of takes Bledsoe out of play for me, takes Naji Marshall out of play, takes a guy like Kira Lewis out of play. I do like Lonzo for GPPs, and he just shot 3 of 18, so he's going to come in a low ownership. Frank Jackson or DeLon Wright? It's clearly DeLon Wright for me. Thoughts on Holmes? I like Holmes a lot. I like Holmes a lot for GPPs. You know everyone's going to play Bagley tonight, so no one's going to play Holmes. Holmes has similar upside. He's a little bit pricier, but I like him a lot as a pivot. Zeller projected for 15 minutes. See, if they're only going to run 2 centers, that means they expect that Biambo is going to play 32 minutes or whatever it is, whatever, the math is, 33 minutes. So I don't think Biambo plays 33 minutes. And I would guess they don't run a 3-headed monster at center, and they don't have PJ to play the 5. And Detroit's a big team. They have Stewart. They have Jahlil Okafor. Hornets are going to need a traditional center out there at all times. So if sites are projecting Zeller for 15 minutes, I think that is incorrect. I don't expect I don't expect Biambo to play 33 minutes. Adams or Jordan. Again, we're still waiting on news for DeAndre Jordan starting. So Lonzo and Adams in. Zion or KD for GBP. Even though KD's going to be way more popular, I just have a hard time fading him. Rozier, Hield, or LaMelo. LaMelo there. Pick 2 of Bagley, Bazemore, Bay, and McDaniels. Bagley and, if price doesn't matter, it's Bagley and Bay. Taking price into consideration, I think it's Bagley and McDaniels. Durant and Nunn or McDaniels and Curry. That's a tough one. That's a really tough one. I'll go the first one, but the tricky part about this slate is now there's a lot of good value in differentiating. Like, this is a slate I wish I could play more lineups in, right? Because you have so many good values. Like, a Nunn versus a McDaniels is so close to me. There's so many that are like literally almost identical that, like, one lineup players like myself, it's gonna be hard, right? This is a slate I wish I could play more lineups. Nunn or Killian Hayes, Nunn. Fading Bagley, don't trust Walton. Okay, Bagley's going to be popular. So if you get that correct and maybe he gets limited, then you're in great shape. LaMelo, DeLon, Wright, Bay, Giannis, Bismack, Rondo, Bagley, KD. I don't see any issue with those players in the lineup, yeah. Cash games, LaMelo, Wright, Martin, Giannis, Biambo, Hield, KD, and Monk. Also looks good for cash. Durant and Nunn or McDaniels. Okay, so I answered that. Why is no one unreasonably priced Chris Paul and Booker when they're facing a bad Cleveland defense? It just doesn't make sense in the slate. I think you got to look what else is on the slate. There's so many good value. So they're kind of in like the 7 to 8K range. There's so many good value plays, and you have great spend ups in Giannis and KD and Steph. So it just doesn't make sense to get to them. Cleveland also, even though they're a bad team, they play slow. So it's just a game that's why they're going overlooked, and I agree they should be going overlooked. You should not be playing them, in my opinion. Bam or Siakam? It's Bam. Yeah, Bam. I'm not really considering Siakam with both Lowry and Van Fleet projected to play. All right, so we got Thunder starters: Maladon, Dort, Baisley, Roby, and Brown. So yeah, I don't think I touch anyone on the bench for the Thunder. Again, they might run a 12-man rotation. So Roby is starting. What's his price? Like, Roby is a decent point per guy. You could take a shot on Roby. The issue is, I think he started like this game and only played 16 minutes. So like, you could take a shot on a cheap Roby, but just be careful, right? Minutes are not guaranteed at all. Tori at the $5 super chat. Thank you so much. LaMelo Ball, Martin, Diallo, Durant, Giannis, Wright, Bagley, Nunn. I like it a lot. Yeah. Is it bad to play Bagley and Holmes? You can do it. It'll differentiate yourself. I don't think a lot of people are going to do that. So it's doable, right? Like the Kings probably run about an 8-man rotation. So yeah, I think you can do it for sure. Ball brothers in the same lineup, a good idea. Lonzo's going to be contrarian, but I think both are good plays. Dort and Nunn or LaMelo and McDaniels. This is LaMelo and McDaniels. Nunn and Diallo or McDaniels and Dragic. Again, see, that's one where it's like I like both. I'll go the first, assuming Diallo starts. All right, guys, that is going to do it. So we hit over 400 viewers. We hit over 100 likes. Can't thank you guys enough. Again, the support in the live streams has been crazy. So really do appreciate everyone coming in, everyone liking the stream, supporting the stream. We got positive vibes in here. Good luck to everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day. This is going to be a super high-scoring slate. Monitor the news. You never know. Maybe we get some more late scratches. But, yeah, that's all I got, guys. So I will see you back here tomorrow for another live stream.